Slim is my boyfriend, and he is so handsome. I actually think Slim is pretty stupid looking. He looks like an evil Mr. Potato Head. What? Hey, wait a second. Evil Mr. Potato Head? This is my fantasy. You're supposed to be nice to me. I don't have to do anything I don't... Oh. Well, howdy party people and space cadets. Welcome to the Galactic Happy Hour. I'm your host, Spider Island Slim, or my Captain Slim, or my Midnight Slim. I don't know if I should be a different Slim for this show. For now, it'll still just be Spider Island Slim. And on this week's episode, we're going to be talking about my favorite Thundercats figures from the original toy line. And let me tell you, I was a massive Thundercats fan back in the day. And I probably, with the exception of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, probably had more Thundercats, or more from that toy line, than any other toy line. Like, I definitely know I had at least as many Thundercats as I did Masters of the Universe. Maybe not. Wish I knew. I just know I had a whole heck of a lot of Thundercats figures. And the beauty of the Thundercats figures was, as I've said before, like I often did, was I would so rarely play with them as the characters they are. Most of the time, they... Oh, you want to see my new shirt? Can't see all of it, but it's a cat riding a shark that's throwing up a rainbow. And honestly, when I put this on, it had nothing to do with the fact that I was doing a Thundercats episode. Just a wonderful, happy, coinky dinky dink. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, but the Thundercats figures really worked well for a lot of different things because there's so many monsters. So I'm going to go through my personal favorites. And the list, it may surprise you. Number 1 on the list, and that is Goat Boy, aka Mongor. You want to talk about a cool looking design. I mean, he looks like he just jumped straight off of a 80s metal album cover. And he's actually, design-wise, one of my favorite figures, and he would probably be higher in this list, but I actually never had him. He was one of the few I never owned. I only saw him one time, and I think it was at a Sears. It was at like a Sears, Service Merchandise, one of those kind of places. And I just couldn't get him that day, and that was the only time I ever saw him. And he was so cool looking, all evil and goaty, and had his scythe. I just always kind of dug goaty type things. And I don't think he made very many appearances in the cartoon either. Maybe just one. Don't quote me on that. I actually did do a little bit of research, but not on that. Alright, so that was Mongor. Number 4 on the list, which, now that I'm looking over here at my cheat sheet, I just mixed it up. Oh well. Number 4 on the list is Vulture Man. And Vulture Man's one of the later mutants that came in. And he was a cool character. I definitely dug him. But he was another one that I much more so dug the toy than I did the character. I used him for so many different things. I could pretend his feathers came under his arms and he would fly around. He was just a cool looking monster and would have been great for playing with my D&D figures. Don't know if I ever actually did that, but I think they would have worked well together. And I remember clearly getting him for my birthday. I believe I would almost put money on it that it was my kindergarten birthday party. Maybe first grade, but I want to say it was kindergarten because I got him, and I remember I got the Thunder Tank on the same birthday. Extremely cool. Alright, zipping right ahead. Number 3 on the list is Mumbo Jumbo. And let me tell you, as a kid, I absolutely adored Minotaurs. Matter of fact, and this is not a joke, the very first thing I ever wanted to do when I grew up, I wanted to be a Minotaur. I wanted my dad to go to my grandfather's farm and find a bull that had died of natural causes, of course, hollow out its head and let me wear it. And that's the job I wanted as an adult. Minotaur. Oh, hold on a second. I'm getting a transmission.
Beautiful shoes. Oh yes, you do have beautiful shoes. Hello, Movie Massacre here. And I just want to say that Mumbo Jumbo was part of the Silverhawks line, not Thundercats, you silly, silly goblin. Thank you.
Oh man, you're right. He wasn't on Silverhawks, wasn't he? Oops. Still, what a cool toy and what a cool figure. And I liked the way his head did the...
Yes, Janine has beautiful shoes. I know what we should do. Yes. Let's go shoe shopping. Oh yes, brilliant. Yes.
Okay, fine, I'll save him for another list. I guess the real number 3, or the new number 3, would be kind of a tie between Jackalman and Monkeyan. Again, both characters that didn't necessarily stand out that much on the show, kind of being borderline lackeys, but the toys were super cool, especially Jackalman. Actually, I'm just gonna... Sorry, Monkeyan. This spot's going to Jackalman, because for years, that was my werewolf figure. If I wanted to play like something was a werewolf, Jackalman was what they would turn into. I mean, doesn't he look like a werewolf? And I was always doing that, because in the 80s, monster toys were, not as common as you might think, so that was my werewolf. And that's number 3, and after number 3 means commercial break.
コンソメコンソメコンソメパンチポンチじゃないよコンソメパンチうまさが効いてるコンソメパンチコンソメコンソメコンソメパンチコンソメコンソメコンソメパンチパンチで元気コンソメパンチ
And we're back. And a quick something I wanted to add, because I forgot to say it last time. One of the neat things and interesting thing about Thundercats was often in the 80s you had figures they either looked better than their cartoon counterpart or they looked worse. Thundercats was an odd mixture, whereas most of the Thundercats themselves didn't look quite as good as the animated series, whereas the bad guys all looked a lot cooler than their animated counterparts. Not really sure why that was, but yeah, I just wanted to point that out, and I thought it was interesting. Like, you take the Evil Mutants, the Monkeyan figure, the Jackalman figure, the Slythe figure. They all looked super cool, especially Slythe. I remember particularly getting him, and he made it. He was good for other little monsters and stuff too. Monkeyan as well. Right, so what's next? The horoscope of the week. And this week's horoscope is for Virgos. Virgos, you will meet a tall, dark, handsome stranger. But he wants to harvest your toes and sell them on the black market. So make sure you wear closed-toed shoes at any social event. Number 2 on the list. And this one may surprise you because it's, I guess, technically not a figure. And that is the original release of Mumm-ra. I was a dog person as a kid. I think I've mentioned that before, surprisingly. I'm definitely a cat person now. But as a kid, I liked dogs. And in particular, I thought bulldogs were super cool. And what is super cooler than an already cool dog? An evil, flying, spooky cool dog. And that was Mumm-ra. And I do believe later Mumm-ra got a more, it might have even been articulated, but a slightly more improved release. But the original Mumm-ra was just the small, plastic, hard PVC figure of him just sitting there. It was kind of just more of a perfect companion piece to just have him sitting next to your Mumm-ra. But I loved that figure, and I played with him so much. And he worked for a lot of things because of the gray skin and the sharp teeth. He worked as different kinds of monsters. He was great as an orc, especially if you've seen the animated Lord of the Rings films from back in the day. Would have fitted perfectly like that. So yeah, I really enjoyed that Mumm-ra figure. And it's one I'm pretty sure I still have in storage, and I hope to have it on one of my shelves one day again. And that leads us to number 1. And this was my absolute favorite Thundercats toy, and it's still an amazing looking figure. It also should be in storage, and that Joker is coming out and going on a shelf as soon as I can get my grubby little monster hands on it. And that is the Astral Moat Monster. I mean, just look at that thing. He's like a blue flying monster frog. And I've already made it clear how I feel about how awesome frogs are. It's just a cool figure, and he was big, and just everything about it I loved. And he was, I think, only on one episode again, the one where Lion-O is going through his trials, and I believe he's climbing a tower, and the astral moat monster's coming out of, well, the astral moat. But, I mean, they just don't make awesome figures quite like this anymore. And I don't remember him being very expensive. Nowadays, a figure of that size and that quality, that would probably at least be a $30 or $40 figure. The astral moat monster. And he got a lot. I mean, I played with that dude so much. And that's my list. It's a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be. My He-Man episode, I really just talked and babbled, and that ended up being a longer episode. But this has been rather short, but do have a lot of love for these figures. I guess I'll throw in some honorable mentions, just so it's not an under 10-minute episode. Well, it won't be under 10 minutes with the commercial breaks and stuff. But I'm sure you all just want to hear me babble a little more anyway, right? So I guess why you come here? Well, you come for this and stay for this. Okay, so what's another good one on that list? I remember Rataro, the kind of rat guy. I enjoyed playing with him quite a bit. Funny, none of this list are the actual Thundercats, because even at the time, I think I realized that they didn't just quite look as good as the others. I mean, I'd still love to have them today. And I think a big part of it, too, is, the bad guys had them, too, but the action features. I've just never been a fan of action features. I want to move my figures themselves. I don't need a lever to do it for me. But I'll tell you, the action feature that was cool was on the mumm-ra and the Lion-O, the little thing you stuck in their back to make their eyes light up. That was a cool feature. I always thought it was odd when you took mumm-ra's that off that he was bald. I guess he probably would have been bald. He was kind of a mummy guy, but I just remember being surprised the first time I saw that. Not that I really can say much about that. Well, I guess that's all the time we have for this week. May your pants be filled with marshmallows.